Hi folks, this is Vince with Dad's Gaming Addiction, and today we're going to look at Dungeon Roll. This game is for 1 to 4 players for ages 8 and up, with the average play time being between 15 and 30 minutes. Now, just to quickly sum this game up, players will be taking turns delving through a dungeon. They'll be doing that 3 times throughout the entire game. And their object is to get as much experience points as they can by collecting loot, and basically by trying to get as far into the dungeon as they can without being forced to leave. So without further ado, let's take a quick look at what came in the box and how the game is played. Okay, so let me go over the components very briefly here. You've got your box that doubles as a chest, and basically players will be able to draw loot from this throughout the game. Speaking of loot, there's 2 different token types. You've got this green token, which serves as your experience. Players will be earning this throughout the game, and they're trying to get as much as they can, because the person with the most experience at the end of the game wins. But as you can see, they're double-sided. They have different values on them, Roman numerals like 1, 5, 10, and so on. As far as these other tokens, they have different colors on them, like you've got orange tokens here, you've got scrolls, you've got potions. The red one here is dragon bait. Some of these tokens can stand in for other party members, and so on and so forth. You've got your party dice in white up here. You've got your dungeon dice in black here. You've got a dungeon tracker of sorts. It's numbered 1 through 10. And as players delve deeper into the dungeon, that number will ascend. You've also got these heroes here. Basically, players will be able to choose an identity at the beginning of the game, and each one has a specific ability listed on the bottom. And when players earn enough experience, they can even flip the card over and use the, well, I don't know, the Super Saiyan side, whatever you want to call it. Basically, this side will give you a better ability on the very bottom and make your character more powerful. You've also got some miscellaneous things here. You've got a player guide of sorts. Players can refer to this chart to see how the different dice work. You've got the instruction manual here, and in case you need any sort of clarification on what these abilities do, you've got sort of like a hero guide here. It'll go over all of the different characters that you'll see in that deck and what they can do. Okay, so you're probably wondering what the heck is on all these dice. Well, I'll do my best to explain everything. There's a lot here, but I'll give you the highlights. Again, the white dice are your party dice. Players will be trying to get through the dungeon with these dice. As you can see, there are different companions that you can get. Fighters, mages, clerics, thieves, champions, and you've even got scrolls here that'll give you a special ability to re-roll any dungeon dice that you want. Speaking of dungeon dice, those are those dice here in black. You've got a goblin, an ooze, a skeleton, a treasure chest, a dragon, and potions. Okay, so you're probably wondering, why are they all different colors? Well, that's so you can easily tell which of your party dice is good against certain dungeon dice without having to look in the manual. For example, you've got a fighter here color-coded green. It just so happens that the goblin is color-coded green, so fighters are great for taking out goblins, whereas mages are great for taking out oozes, clerics are great for taking out skeletons, and thieves are great for taking out treasure chests. Okay, so here's a very brief look at game setup. You'll put all of the loot inside the box. You'll put the experience off to the side. Each player will get one of these character cards. Again, they can choose or they can be dealt one randomly. The person that's been underground most recently will receive the party dice, and the person to that player's left will become the dungeon lord and receive the dungeon dice. Alright, so what I'm going to do, instead of explaining the rules all at once, I'm going to play a practice round and explain the rules as I go. That way you can get a feel of the gameplay. So, let's just say that this mercenary is up first. He's gone ahead and rolled his dice already, and this is what he's got. A thief, a cleric, a champion, a fighter, and a mage, and 2 scrolls. The dungeon lord, the other player, will go ahead and put the die on 1 to show that this player is on level 1, and the dungeon lord will roll a number of dice equal to that number. So he'll roll 1 die, and let's just say he rolls the die and it comes up a skeleton. Now the player has to beat this monster before moving on to the next floor or the next level. So the player is going to take a look at his dice and say, okay, which die do I want to give up for the rest of this dungeon run in order to get rid of the skeleton? Whenever you use a die, by the way, if you're the party member or you're the party dice and you use a die, it is gone after that. So you need to make sure that you're using your dice wisely. So in this case, there's only 1 die to worry about. So either the thief or the cleric or the champion, the fighter or the mage could take this guy out, and it wouldn't really matter which one you choose, honestly, at least at this point. So let's just say that the player here decides to use a mage to get rid of this skeleton. So that skeleton is now defeated, this party member is now gone, and the level is defeated. So the player now has the option to basically resolve any potions or treasure chests that might have appeared. In this case, there are none. And the player can decide, okay, do I want to continue, or do I want to leave with what I have? And if he decides to leave, he'll get that much experience that's shown on the die, and he'll receive one of these tokens. But he has all of these party members left, so he's like, okay, no, I'm going to keep going. So this goes to level 2 now. And now this player will roll 2 party dice. And let's just say he rolls, let's say the skeletons are really nasty today, and the one gets rolled there, and one gets rolled there. So now this player has to fight 2 skeletons to get past level 2. To do that, the player's going to look at his dice and say, you know what, clerics are great against skeletons. So this player could opt to spend one of these cleric die to take out both of these skeletons. Now, like I said at the beginning of the video, certain characters are good against certain monsters. Had the player not had a cleric, let's just say that this was a fighter and this one was a thief. Let's just say that he had 2 thieves and 2 2 fighters, whatever. He would have to spend 2 dice here to take out both of these monsters. 1 die per 1 dungeon die. So what he's going to do instead, he's got a cleric and he's got a champion. Champions are sort of like a kick-ass character. They can take out all die of one type, and if it just so happens that the color matches here, in this case the cleric color matches the skeleton color, this 1 cleric die can take out both of these. Likewise, he could have used the champion. Again, this is sort of like a kick-ass character, and he could take out both at the same time if he wants to, too. So he's going to opt to spend the cleric, get rid of these 2 skeletons, and this one goes off to the side, gone forever. And that's it, he beat the level. Again, the player has the option, do I want to keep going, or do I want to quit now and get 2 experience points? He's going to keep going. So 3. Alright, so again, the Dungeon Lord rolls the die. There's a dragon there that comes up, there's a treasure chest, and let's say another treasure chest comes up. Okay, so whenever a dragon is rolled, it is placed off to the side, sort of like in zombie dice. And I like to put it on the character card so that just as a reminder that, hey, you'll have to fight this later on in the game. If there are 3 dragons here, then the dragon will awaken and you'll have to face it after killing all of the monsters here. Alright, so now you've got these 2 treasure chests that you have to resolve. The player could ignore them if he wants to, but he's like, you know what, I really want stuff. I really want some loot. So he's going to go ahead and give up the thief to open up both treasure chests. Again, the colors match. If he did not have a thief or a champion, he would have to spend, like, say, 2 separate die, like a warrior and a mage, to open up both chests. But because he has a thief, he can open both. So these go back here, the thief goes away, and he gets to take 2 tokens out of here. Let's say there's a dragon scale, and let's see. Trying to find something good. A scroll of town portal, like this is a town portal token. Basically, if you have to flee during the game, you lose all of your experience. Meaning that if you can't defeat all of the monsters that you're facing, you're forced to flee and you don't get the experience. But this is sort of like a backup. You can use the town portal token, sort of like in Diablo or any other RPG that might have it video game-wise. You can use this to quickly get out of the dungeon and retain any experience that you've earned thus far. This is worth 2 experience points at the end of the game, so if you don't use it, you could actually get a lot of experience that way. Each token, by the way, that you have at the end of the game will also net you some experience points. It's like 1 token, or 1 experience point per token. Like I said, there's a lot here, and I'm throwing it all at you, and I apologize, but I'm doing the best I can. Alright, so now that that is resolved, the character is going to be like, or the player is going to be like, hey, I'm going to move on to the 4th floor. 4 dice are going to be rolled now. We've got, let's just say that, a skeleton, a goblin, and an ooze, and a potion. Alright, now, this is probably a really terrible roll, because when you're fighting multiple monster colors, you have to give up a lot of different dice to defeat them. So this player's going to have to spend at least 3 dice to get rid of that, but he doesn't have that. He only has a champion, a warrior, and he does have a special ability. The mercenary has a calculated strike, defeat any 2 monsters. So there's a number of different things that this player can do to resolve this and take care of it. For one, he could spend 1 scroll, which allows you to re-roll any number of dice. So let's just say he spends this die to re-roll these 3 dice here. And let's just say that through some sheer amount of unluckiness, the player gets these 3 dice again. So the player's like, okay, I'm not going to do that anymore. So he's going to go ahead and use the mercenary card. He can tap it, You can only use this ability once per dungeon delve. And take out 2 of these monsters. So let's just say he decides to get rid of the ooze and the skeleton. Okay? That leaves the goblin and the potion. Now, in the way potions work, you can give up any die, even these scrolls, to consume it. That'll make the potion or the scroll really wet, but I guess it still works. I don't ask me. But anyway, you can give up any one of your dice to revive one from the graveyard and make it any die you want. So let's just say he decides to give up the scroll to drink the potion, and now he can take one out of the graveyard and make it anything he wants to. Let's say he decides to make it, I don't know, a mage. Okay, so there's that. And now there's 1 goblin left. To fight that off, he can choose any one of these 3 characters. Let's just say he uses the fighter, gets rid of that, and now he's defeated that. So now he's cleared this floor, he's good to go, and he decides not to press on to the next floor because he only has 2 heroes or 2 party members left. He's tapped out his ability. He's got 1 dragon showing. So yeah, it's not looking good for him. So he's going to go ahead and leave the dungeon. He's going to get 4 experience points. He's going to take a 3 here and a 1 and put it somewhere near his character. And that'll end his turn. And then play will move on to the next person. Okay, let me show you one more example so I can cover like the dragon and some other things I didn't touch on yet. Alright, so let's just say it is the other player's turn, the Spell Sword's turn, and the process is basically going to be the same. This player's going to go ahead and roll some dice. He gets a fighter, let's say he gets a mage and a mage, a cleric, no thieves, a scroll. Okay, so this is what he has now. And the dungeon master, or the dungeon lord, will go ahead and put the die back on 1 and roll 1 die for the first floor. Let's just say it's a dragon. Okay, now the dragon, again, is automatically put onto the character card. That's it. The floor is completed. Very simple. The character decides to move on to the second floor. Now let's just say that, I don't know, a skeleton and, I guess we'll do another skeleton. Alright, so again, the player has 2 ways to deal with this. He can go ahead and give up 1 cleric to take out both skeletons because they're the same color, or he could use a champion. Otherwise, he could like spend a fighter and a mage, but that would be inefficient. So he's going to go ahead and spend his cleric to get rid of these 2 dice, and that cleric goes away. He moves on to the 3rd floor. He decides to press on. Alright, so 3 dice now. Let's say that is rolled, and let's say we end up with a dragon, and we'll say an ooze. Okay, so now these 2 dragon dice go off to the side. There's a total of 3, so we have to resolve that in a minute. But first, he has to get past this ooze. So he's going to go ahead and give up, say, a mage to go ahead and get rid of that. Oh, by the way, you cannot use a scroll to re-roll dragons whenever they are rolled. The dragons are automatically moved. You don't get a chance to re-roll those should you use a scroll. So let's just say that he uses the mage to get rid of that. And now he has to face this dragon. And it doesn't matter how many dragons are here. For 3 or more, what you need to beat this dragon are 3 companions of different types. So you're going to need 1 champion, 1 fighter, and 1 mage. You can't use 2 fighters and a mage. You have to use 3 different types. So in this case, he has to give up a champion, a mage, and a fighter in order to get past these 3 dragons. These dragons are put back into the pool, and these go away forever. So the dragon is pretty bad news, and you have to spend a lot to get rid of him. Luckily, there are some ways around him. Like you've got, let's see, there's like a scroll, or no, there's a ring of invisibility in here, for example. If you get that token from a loot that you might have gotten from a treasure chest, you can use that to sneak past the dragon. And it looks like the ring from Lord of the Rings, so that's where that comes from. But you don't get any experience for using that to get around the dragon. But should you defeat the dragon, you get an experience point, and you get some loot from the treasure chest. So there are some advantages to defeating the dragon. But again, if you sneak past him or use anything else to get around the dragon, you do not get the experience points, and you do not get a loot from the treasure chest. So, yeah, right now this character is not doing too well. He has 2 party members left, and right now he could move on to level 4. We'll have to face 4 different dice. Let's just say he's pushing his luck. He wants to do it. So let's just say that an ooze is rolled. There's a goblin, there's a skeleton, and I don't know. Let's just say there's another goblin. Okay, so now he's in trouble. Um, he's got all of these different dungeon dice that he has to defeat in order to move on, but he only has 2 party members left, and one of them is a scroll. Let's just say he uses his scroll to re-roll the dice, and I don't know. Let's just say that an ooze comes up. Okay, or no. What was this before? That was, yeah. Let's just say he rolls all of these. Let's say 2 goblins come up, 1 ooze comes up again. And let's just say that 1 turns into an ooze. So now he has to face 2 goblins and 2 ooze. The scroll reroll was really bad for him, and he didn't get what he wanted. So now he has to fight these with 1 fighter. Now he does have a special ability on here, and that says Spell Sword may be used as a fighter or mage. So basically, he could tap this card to use it as a mage to take out these 2 oozes, because the mages are purple and the oozes are purple. He can use his fighter die to get rid of these, and miraculously he's beaten the level, and he decides not to press on. Actually, no, let's just say he decides to press on, even with no party members, because let's just say he's stupid, or was drinking too much, whatever the case may be. Now he's got to fight 5 dungeon dice, and let's just say all of that comes up, and he can't beat it. So now he's forced to run from the dungeon because he can't defeat these monsters. He loses all of the experience that he's earned up to this point, and he doesn't get anything. If he has any tokens, that's okay, but any experience he's earned, forget it. So this character is forced to run from the dungeon, doesn't earn anything, so this is pretty much a bad run for this player. And that's pretty much all there is to it. Players will continue taking turns until each player has had a total of 3 dungeon delves. And at the end of the game, whoever has the most experience points will win. Like I said, you'll want to take a look at these numbers, add them up, that's your experience points. But you'll also have these tokens that you might have earned from the treasure chest. Each one is worth 1 point. The scroll is worth 2, or this town portal here is worth 2 points. And these dragon scales, if you happen to have 2 of them, you'll get more points for having more of them. So you want to try and get as many dragon scales as you can. But what you're going to do is add up your experience, add up the points you might have earned from tokens, and that'll end the game, and whoever has the most wins. Alright, and there you have it, a very brief look at Dungeon Roll. Again, it's very important to stress, I did not cover everything in the manual. This was just a brief overview to give you an idea as far as what you're in for should you decide to pick up this game. Honestly, it's a great game, and I really, really don't regret picking this up. I got it for like 20 bucks at Barnes & Noble, I think, which is a bookstore. But anyway, the only complaint that I have about this game is that the box is just, it's not very sturdy, and you can actually see here it's already starting to tear. So like the outside of the box is just pretty flimsy. The material isn't all that hard. It's just this cheap, I don't know what it is. It's like cheap wood. Yeah, so it's like, I don't know, but it can bend easily if you're not careful. It can be crushed, that kind of thing. But other than that, everything on the inside of the box is great. The card art is fantastic. The dice are easy to see. I like the fact that they're color-coded, so you can easily see what champions you have are good against, or what companions you have are good against certain dungeon dice. I like that. There's a lot of different ways to handle certain situations as they come up, and you'll be constantly thinking, okay, so I've got these dungeon dice in front of me. What can I do to get rid of these particular monsters? Or how can I resolve this using the least number of dice? But I've got some dragons showing on my card, so maybe I need to keep at least 3 different companions of different types. So maybe I want to use this dice instead of this dice, or maybe this instead of that. Or maybe I can use this potion to get rid of this 1 die that I have, consume it with this 1 die, and then bring back something else that I might need to take out this dragon that I might face later on. So again, a lot of different if-thens going on here, a lot of different ways to handle things. So I like that. So Dungeon Roll. If you guys want to see the full review, you can at www.dadsgamingaddiction.com. If you haven't already, subscribed to my YouTube channel. That way you can keep up to date on any new content I happen to publish. This is Vince. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.